Welcome. I'm Raul Lowry Contreras. This is the Contreras Report American Politics Edition. What do you think of this headline? Trump, one of history's worst presidents, survey says. Even though President Donald Trump famously boasted he would be more presidential than any president that's ever held office, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, historians now say he's among America's worst presidents. Ever since 2000, the Gore versus Bush presidential contest, C-SPAN surveys presidential historians and asks them to rate every previous American commander-in-chief on 10 aspects of presidential leadership. This is the first year Trump was included in the rankings. Okay. Let me say that I'm reading this from a report by CNN's political editor, Chris Cillizza. Okay, the 142 historians surveyed ranked Trump toward the bottom of the list at 41st overall. While Lincoln tops C-SPAN's ranking for the fourth survey in a row, Trump comes in dead last in moral authority and administrative skills. On both issue areas, he ranks 44th of 44. Chris Cillizza, who authored this article, speculates that Trump's low moral authority rating likely has something to do with, quote, the number of lies he perpetuated before, during, and after his presidency, unquote. Trump is rated highest for his public persuasion, a ranking of number 32. And economic management at number 34. There could be some good news for Trump in the next survey. Some fellow recent presidents have experienced bump-ups in their rankings as time has passed. As C-SPAN put it, Barack Obama rose from number 10 from his number 12 ranking in 2017. George W. Bush continued his steady incline, that means up, now ranking at number 29 from number 33 in 2017 and number 36 in 2009. Bill Clinton began at number 21 in 2000 and held steady at number 15 in 2009 and 2017 before declining this cycle to number 19. The point, in December, Chris Cillizza wrote about Trump's position in a poll taken in his last month as president. This is fascinating. 1 in 5 people thought or think Donald Trump will be remembered as, quote, one of the country's greatest presidents, unquote. CNN, however, asks, how will history remember Trump's 4 years in office? The early returns, as you might guess, are deeply divided. A total of 48% in a Fox News poll released over the weekend in December rated Trump as somewhere between average and one of the country's greatest presidents. A very similar 50% said that Trump will go down in history as somewhere between below average and one of the country's worst presidents. 42% of Americans in that poll, the Fox poll, thought Trump will be among the worst presidents ever. That reflects strong opposition to Trump, which has been constant his entire time in office. He never went above low 40s in popularity. Cillizza was struck by the fact that more than 1 in 5 people, 22%, believe that Trump will be remembered as one of the greatest presidents in American history. After all, Cillizza wrote, Trump inarguably botched the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. He weaponized race for his own political purposes, worsening the already raw divides in the country. His entire term was clouded by a series of guilty pleas and convictions of people who, at some point over the last 5 years, have been in Trump's inner circle. In today's news, the 1st of July, we find that a New York grand jury has indicted the Trump Organization, the company, and its chief financial officer for various criminal felony charges. So the indictments of Trump associates continues. The economy, which was Trump's crowning jewel before COVID-19, appears to be in a very slow recovery from the depths of the spring, and since the election, he has engaged as Chris Salisa writes, in 24/7 lies that he won the election. The election was stolen, and he received more votes than any president in the history of election results that were honest. According to Trump, this election was stolen. He says the vote counters should have stopped counting when he was ahead, despite the fact that over half of all votes weren't even counted yet, weren't even sorted yet, ready to be counted. And yet, despite all of that, more than 1 in 5 of our fellow Americans believe that Trump will be remembered as one of the country's greatest presidents. So who are these people? A look into the Fox News poll gives us some clues. 29% of white men believe Trump will go down as one of the country's greatest presidents. 49% of 2020 Trump voters say the same, as do 44% of self-identified Republicans. 36% of white evangelicals think Trump will be rated as one of the best presidents. Those numbers, of course, jibe, broadly speaking, with the core of Trump's core base, and are yet more evidence that Trump's command over his base is more powerful than any GOP politician we have seen in a very long time. As a matter of fact, other than Eisenhower in '56 and Reagan in '84, there is no comparison. Trump's own view of his presidency, quote, this is what he told the media: I would give myself an A+, quote unquote. That's what Trump told Fox News Sunday anchor Chris Wallace in November 2018. Will Trump improve his rankings in the future? Consider George W. Bush. What he looked like when he left office in 2009 versus today. He ranks better than he did in 2009. In a 2018 survey of political historians by the American Political Science Association, it rated Trump as the single worst president ever. That survey had Trump at, quote, the very bottom of the list. His average rating is 12.34, which is nearly 3 points lower than James Buchanan at 15.09, who previously occupied the lowest rank. A Siena College poll of presidential experts that same year had Trump third from the bottom. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, the vast majority of people who know the subject, political scientists like me, historians like me, and journalists like me, don't consider Trump to be a very good president of any sort. Nothing that he did compares to the negatives of his 4 years. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know if he's going to run again in 2024. I suspect, though, that he will be involved in a number of legal problems that have yet to surface. He will spend the rest of his life fighting off courts, prosecutors, and grand juries. He should have let loose his tax returns. That's what irritated so many people. He didn't. What was he hiding? They asked. What is Trump hiding? Well, he obviously felt protective. He went to all lengths to keep his tax returns private. Well, they're no longer private. They're now coming back to haunt him, and we don't know where that will stop. I'm Raul Contreras, and this is the Contreras Report American Politics edition for this week. Next week we'll have more political news because it's popping up every single day. Thank you for being there. Subscribe to this channel so you'll be alerted every time there is a posting of Contreras Report. Thank you again for being there. The email address is coming up on the screen shortly, and you can write me comments, questions. I'll answer you, and we'll make this a better program with your comments and questions. Thank you so much.